I get it. It's a lot of work taking care of children, working, taking care of the yard, but are you taking care of your marriage? Our next speaker has some tips for you and why it's important.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is the Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Welcome, Giant Builders. So happy to see you. I hope you are having an absolutely wonderful day. Don't forget, our social media links are below. Please like and subscribe and do all the things that you do on social media. So today's guest is Jan Talon. Hi, Jan. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody out there. Glad to be able to chat with you today.
Well, thank you for being with us. Can you give our audience a little bit of an idea of who you are and what you do?
Oh, I'd love to. I am a wife, a mom, a grandma, and a marriage and family therapist. And my children would tell me, don't be my therapist. And I would be, I'm not, I'm just being a smart mom. And they couldn't always see where those two intersected. I have four kids. Um, but as they have grown up and they've started to raise their own kids, they began to see that parenting and marriage takes a lot of wisdom. It takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of courage. For me and for our family, for me and my husband, that courage came from leaning on each other. We had reasonably good family backgrounds, so we didn't have to take all sorts of drama baggage into our marriage, but
Mm.
everybody has something. And so we took some of that in. But we also took our faith that Jesus knew us and our kids better than we knew ourselves. And so we prayed for our kids daily, and we prayed for each other, and we prayed for ourselves daily. But we also remembered to notice the good and the blessings because they come in little doses. And if you don't stop to do them and notice them, you lose out on them. And one of the things I would do when I was a mom is I would, I'm still a mom, but when I had that long list of things to do, and then I would look down, and I had four kiddos within 8 years, so I was busy. Um, I would look and I'd say, I've done nothing on the list. What have I done from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon? What have I done? And then I would start to write down. I took a shower. I brushed my teeth. I emptied the dishwasher. And when I started to count my little blessings of what I did get done, things felt much better. And I felt a little more confident. So that's where my history as a mom, my history as a therapist has been my love for families. Um, and in my work as a marriage and family therapist, I noticed that my highest energy came from two places. One of them was helping moms and dads with young ones try to figure out how to do it all in some ways, especially when they were both working and trying to figure out how to maintain that because that was the reality of life. Um, and that was my first passion. My second passion that I don't focus on as much right now was teenagers because they were fun. They came in just a bundle of mess and hurt. And being able to just listen, I always had a bowl of M&Ms. They would sit down on that couch, they would grab that bowl of M&Ms, they'd put their feet up on the coffee table, curl up on the couch, take those M&Ms and start to chat. And the things we learned and the ways that they grew was just beautiful. So there's a little synopsis of it, I think, or a long one, however you want to think of that.
Oh, that's great. I think that you're right. I mean, marriage and parenting is really hard
Mhm.
because they don't, neither of them come with a instruction booklet.
Not at all.
And you're dealing with very completely unpredictable personalities
Mhm.
and you're trying to put it all together. And like you said, I think there's a big percentage of people who are both the couple are excuse me are working,
Mhm.
and there's a lot to really put in. And I
Mhm.
think this it's even more like when you have a second child or or
Yes.
multiple children, then that just
Mhm.
kind of enhances that process.
Mhm.
Is there a kind of like a general tip that you start with people as far as trying to figure out marriage and parenting?
Yeah, the first thing we look at is how well is our mom and dad connected as husband and wife. As the marriage goes, so usually goes the family. And mom and dad are lead. Now, they have two things. I have a couple of hats here because what we're trying to create often looks funky. This is my I want to go on a hot date hat. I have worn this hat through the years. It's my 46th anniversary on Friday. I will wear this hat again. We're going on a hot date. I want to be a wife. Could care less about my grandmaing and my mothering. I want to be a wife. This is my hot date hat. I want you all to have one. All of you moms and all of you dads, you need a hot date hat. And I don't care if it's a baseball hat. I don't care if it's a cute headband. You got to have a hot date hat to remember that you're married. But now here's the trick. You also have to have a mom or a dad hat. And you just notice what I just did. This does not look terribly classy, okay? But it is how we have to, if we're going to really thrive with our families, stay connected. We have to have our marriage brain on first and our parenting brain on second. And they have to be together. We don't take these off. I'm going to pause my parenting hat while I go out on my hot date. But when I come home and the sitter says, this kiddo has not yet gone to sleep, I keep my parenting hat, my marriage hat on, and I'm going to put on my parenting hat. My husband and I will do it together. Okay? And one of us might go calm the other kiddo who's been awake, worried about the kiddo who's awake, right? Because that's the way it rolls. But we're going to do both of these together. Now, let me just tell you just quickly the reason for why. The reason why is this. In our research, not my research, research over the years, this is long-term meta studies, that the first 5 years of parenting, not your 5 years of marriage, your first 5 years of parenting are where the cracks and the fissures for divorce begin to grow.
Mm.
We don't divorce in these 5 years usually, unless cracks and fissures have happened earlier. We stay together for the kids. And 20 to 25 years down the road, we say, well, I'll keep my parenting hat, but I'm really over this one. And I'll still be your mom and your dad. And I know you're grown up, you're a big person. Okay, but that hat's all done. It's really been worn out and faded. I'm over it. And you know what? Your kids are confused and mad, and they could be 25, but they're going to follow you. And you just told them you were a sham. Uh-oh. Do you see the sadness? It's too much sadness, and it's not necessary. So that's why we say use the DNA way to communicate and make sure that you know how to be married forever while you parent your kiddos together. It's not an either or. This isn't an either or hat. This isn't a I'll wear the parent hat, you wear the marriage hat. Where'd you go? You wear the marriage hat. Okay, because no, you'll run parallel, but you won't run together. And therein you divide.
So
I
is there
forgot what the
a
question
common
was, but that's my long answer.
I know that was great. I love the hack. I love that comparison there. Is there like a common thread that creates this friction between parenting and marriage?
Yeah, it's weariness.
Mhm.
That we talk about the D's that fall into a marriage, and most of it comes from weariness. Some of this weariness, I don't have a really good way around unless you've got a lot of money and you can hire people to come in and be your sleep person and your house cleaning person and your car repair person and your lawn person. Most of us don't have that kind of rolling around cash. So we still try to maintain, and we're just brain bone weary. And that means that we then let the marriage slide and we just try to keep our kids alive. And in that weariness, we begin to build in the D's for divorce.
Mm.
So we build in disconnection, we build in dismay, we build in discouraged, we build in discombobulated. You
Wow,
hear
there's
me?
a lot of D's.
There's a lot of D's. There are. And that moves us into that depression. And we add on to that postpartum depression for mom and or dad. And you can see the stack to say, I can't do both, moves us into, I'll hang on, but this marriage isn't going to hang on. And that's your first thought of divorce.
Hmm.
And so there is a weariness. And in that, couples pull into themselves, they pull individually into themselves because their spouse doesn't have any energy to give. We forget that um, we are more, the example I'm going to use is epoxy glue. Do you know epoxy glue? You have two parts. You have a hardener, right, and a mixer.
Right, yeah.
And you need both in order for the glue to work. One by itself is worthless. For a family to work well, you still have to, even if you only have a little bit, you have to mix together. That means things that don't take too much energy. Smile at each other, wink, where you have the energy. Give a real kiss, but even if you don't have the energy for a real kiss, a sweet hug, a pat on the shoulder, a kind compliment. Here's your coffee. Let me put your car in the garage. Okay, all of those kindnesses build connection. And from that, your energy will grow. But you have to remember to be kind. Okay, does it take a little bit of energy to give kindness? It does. But you know what? It also takes a lot of energy to be rejective. To say, I'm not gonna. I don't have it in me. Try it because you're going to find a little spark. Okay, and we only need a little bit to make it through and keep on building. So hang in there. And mostly, I want to say, remember to be nice.
No, it sounds like one of the most important acts that you can have.
Yeah, but when you're so tired, and just discouraged, it's really hard to be nice. And I sort of want to say, man up a little bit. And at the very least, be less mean. That's your better way to say it. Be less mean. You're right. He didn't hang up his towel again. Okay? Don't go hiding it or giving it to the dog bed. Be less mean.
I didn't think about the dog bed. That's a good tip.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, you see where your brain goes all of a sudden. Is I'm just going
yeah.
to throw this to the dog. And like, no, 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 just be less mean.
Okay, what do you do when like parenting styles are so different between spouses?
Well, we ask spouses when they have some energy, and this might mean that they think about it for a month. Okay, go ahead, think about it for a month because a month in the lifetime of parenting isn't that long. But we want you to start to write down what do you want your family to look like? We call this defining your desires. So, what do you want your family to look like in the next month? In the next 3 months? In the next year? Go 5 years, go 10 years, go 30 years. What do you want it to look like? What do you want it to feel like? It's just like a car, a boat, and a ball. You go where you look.
Hmm.
So, look at your family of origin. Go ahead. Pick what you like and say, that's what I want to go for. Don't pick the whole kit and caboodle. It's too much, right? You aren't going to carbon copy your family. You're married to a different person. So pick three core things. Let them pick three core things. Now combine them. Okay. And put those on your bathroom mirror. Take your marker and write it on your bathroom mirror. Okay. Put it on a dashboard in your car. Okay, don't hide it in a note in your phone. You'll never find it. Don't, that's worthless. Okay, I don't care if you put it on the face of your phone. Okay, right? Don't hide it. I put notes in my kitchen cupboards all the time. And what was I going to do about that child? Well, they did that again. I'm going to do this. And I was losing my brain, right? But if I could remember to go look at the kitchen cupboard and open it up, I could get my brain back. Oh, that's what I'm going to do with that kid. And I would remember, it would get my brain back. What's my desire? And could refocus to reparent better. Okay. So when you're different styles, you have to start out with what do I want? What do we want? And then we can start to use in the DNA way of communicating that we teach in Family Crazy to Family Calm. Then we talk about 8 necessary skills for building your family. And we'll talk about connection skills, communication skills, and conflict and confusion resolution skills. And when we use those per our personality and our goals and what our kiddo is like, because that's a player, right? You know, the child who cries as soon as you go, huh? And the child who's just sits out their bottom chin and goes, I don't care. You know, we all, no children are alike. We have to figure out then how are we going to approach this? But we'll use those 8 skills and we'll apply them according to the personality of our kiddos and the age or the developmental space.
Yeah, I found that one was I guess the one that kind of like hit me in the head, it's like the personalities of the kids.
Yeah.
It's like one child I could punish by like just taking their
Mhm.
whatever away.
Mhm.
The other one just didn't care. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, what's important to you?
Mhm. Yeah. And how do I help you learn what I'm trying to get you to develop in your heart and your mind
Mhm.
without breaking your spirit and without letting you get away with things? Um, and that takes trial and error, but that's why you have 2 people thinking about it. Parenting doesn't have to be fast. Okay, we had a few hard stops. That was like the world stopped right now. Dinner stopped. We're not leaving right now. And that was if somebody all out hauled out and hit somebody, not allowed. Okay, stop. And if somebody lied. And those were 2 hard stops for us. The world stops. This is cleaned up. We'll regroup after this. But otherwise, I mean, my kids, as they were teenagers and they've talked about it, and like, the waiting, mom and dad, well, you 2 thought about it was a killer. And we weren't trying to be mean. This wasn't a grounding or trying to be a mean. This was us thinking through, well, where we had the brain space, what's happening to our kiddo that made them think this decision was okay. And usually what we found out was if we waited, we got more information. And it turned our parenting decision into something that made a whole lot more sense than deciding fast.
Yeah, because when it's happening, there's so much drama going around from
Yes.
all the people involved that
Yeah.
it is hard to like, well, she did that. Well, he did that. Blah, blah.
Yes. Yeah. And to be able to say, okay, just slow down a minute. Okay. We all have to just do some thinking. We've done a lot of feeling. It's going through the roof, the feeling thing. But now we have to do some thinking because that's going to balance it out. We aren't going to ignore the emotions. We're going to find out why are they playing such a strong role in this event? Okay. What did somebody get scared about? What did they feel? I sort of want to say insulted with. Okay. And being able to understand that. We had a situation with our 16-year-old. At one point, I had 4 of them, but not all at the same time. But one of our 16, one of our kids, when they were 16, we were ticked. We had some information that there had been a lot of drinking and a lot of this and a lot of that, and we were not happy, and we didn't know what to say. Um, And so, as this is in the early days of internet and texting, so was not the proliferation of that.
Mhm.
And we talked with ourselves, we talked with a few other parents. We started to say, we don't have all the information. And when we started to figure out what information we didn't have, we said, now we're going to talk to her. And what we found out was that our daughter had taken the rap for someone else. She said, Mom, I knew if I took it, you weren't going to kick me out of the house. But if that person got caught, they were getting kicked out of the house, for real, kicked out of the house. And I knew you guys weren't going to kick me out of the house. Our parenting changed. We had parented towards kindness and generosity. And there the 16-year-old is living it. And this isn't really a brag. This is what you parent develops.
Mm,
And your kids take risks then that live into the values that you have modeled. So do the work because it pays off.
yeah, that's great. Wow. I remember one time my son was invited to a party and he was in junior high. So
Mhm.
I dropped him off and it was during cell phone time. So I left him. It wasn't where every child in the family had a cell
Oh,
phone,
yeah.
but my husband and I did. So I took my husband's cell phone and said, well, if anything comes up, give me a call.
Yeah.
So I just barely got home and about 20 minutes later he called and he's whispering, come and get me. Like
Oh,
I didn't even ask or anything. I said, okay, I'll be right there.
yes, exactly the right answer,
I
right?
said, tell him that we have a family emergency and I have to come and get you.
Yep,
I
yep.
picked him up and he's like, I just feel like comfortable because they started smoking and then I was like, oh, I just didn't feel like it. And I was like, I'm so proud of you. We're gonna go have a
Exactly.
windy smoothie.
Yeah, right now,
I
right?
know, we're gonna go have
Mhm.
some ice cream.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
to celebrate his courage, because that's a lot of courage.
yeah,
And to trust his gut and to say, I'm not going to see him with how this plays out, but just say, no, not for me.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, that,
But I mean, like I say, the parenting is just hard. I
mhm.
think it's easier with adult children, but there's still some steps there that you have to take, even though
Yep.
you have adult children too.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yep.
not, it's not a job you graduate from.
No, no, then isn't that amazing? Um, that is not a job you graduate from. And so for us as parents and as spouses to continue to understand the world and to understand how we see it from our history, but also to understand it how our kids see it and how our grandkids are experiencing it, impacts how we can interact with them. Um, because they have so much more information coming at them.
Mm. Yeah,
And
yeah, especially now.
yeah,
And it's like you said at the beginning, one of the strongest points in this is knowing that you have a loving God to lean on. Makes such a
yeah.
huge difference.
Oh, such a difference. Well, and to understand that that loving God is full of wisdom and has answers for your questions better than anything social media or other things will tell you. And that wisdom has been tested over time. The social media stuff hasn't been tested over time. For Pete's sake, let's just think about that. The God's wisdom has been tested and tested and tested and found true and good. So it takes some courage to live into it. It certainly does. For your son to be able to see this is not where Jesus would want me to be right now,
Mhm.
and to say, excuse me. Now, another kiddo might look at that and say, this is exactly where Jesus wants me to be, and stays, but has the link with Jesus that says, this is how I'm going to behave right here. And that is no judgment either way. It's go where Jesus asked you to go. And us demonstrating that as parents to our littles and to our adults, go where Jesus asks you. Don't be afraid
Yeah,
because all of it has challenge and all of it requires faith.
yeah. Life is such a challenge.
I know. Like, yep. hmm
So what
hmm
does a first meeting with you look like?
The first meeting with me?
Mhm.
Oh, much like this, we get to know each other.
Okay.
We share some stories. Um, you ask me questions about what you want to know about me. I'm a pretty open book. And I'll tell you where I flubbed up. I'll tell you, sort of what my coaching style is like, but it's much like this. How can I help you? Listening to you well and giving you both professional knowledge, because I've got 35, 38, it depends on where you start counting, right? Wow, if you start counting, I'm almost 40 years in to experience.
Mhm.
Um, and I parented right along with my professional practice. So those two blended fairly well. Um, I'm practical. Okay. So am I touchy-feely? Well, if I need to be, sure. But we also need skill. And skills help our emotions become a little bit more regulated and a little bit more manageable.
Mhm.
And so we're going to help you learn skill and we're going to teach you the practical application to it. Okay. Not your psychology textbook application. Your life, your kid, your brain, your household, your family dynamics. How do we do this? And we can do that.
Well,
Um,
that's great.
you know,
So I'm going to have your information link below with your website.
that's great.
Tell our listeners what kind of information that you have on your website that they will benefit from.
There are a couple of really nice things on the website. There's a lot of information about the program that I have that's called Family Crazy to Family Calm, and that is the DNA way to communicate. This moves your family from family crazy to family calm, and it teaches and will help you learn what do I desire, what are our dreams and our desires, how do we get our necessary skills, and how do we apply those skills appropriately to our 2-year-old, to our infant, to our 5-year-old, our 8-year-old, our 12-year-old, our 20-year-old, because they're different. Same skill, a little different. You start treating your 12-year-old like a 2-year-old, and you're going to have a funny conversation, right? But same skill, just used a little differently. Um, so it will explain that more thoroughly. But I've also done about 120 podcasts, and those are posted on that website. So if you want to know what would Jan do about this, they're sort of categorized. They're not exactly perfect, but they're all 20 minutes long. Some are 12 minutes long, some are 22, but they're not long, and they're all available. So pick one up. All of them have a free printable with it. Grab the printable, print the dumb thing out, and use it. It's meant to be used. It's meant so you don't have to go back to the podcast. When you say, I got to remember this, you listen to it in the car. Now just grab the printable. Okay. Um, and then, ways to connect with me through if you just want some individual coaching as opposed to buying the whole program. There are some short videos versus long videos. If you just got 10 minutes and you want to say, I don't get this listening thing, buy the 10-minute listening video. I think it cost you, I don't know, $7.99 or $14.99 or something. But hey, it's way cheaper than therapy and it can give you the boost you need.
Well, there you
So,
go. All
yeah.
right. Well, any closing thoughts?
um, I just want to encourage your moms and your dads, your husbands and your wives, because they're both, it's an and, um, that being a giant and raising giants go simultaneously. You don't have to be a loud stomping giant to be a giant.
Mhm.
You just have to know and be centered my faith-based friends, be centered in Jesus and trust that He is going to do this and is doing this path with you and with your kids. If you're not faith-based, then let's go ahead and use the skills that you know and grow them. If you want to know more about faith, then just talk to me because I'll talk to you. I'm not going to sell to you, I'm going to talk to you. Okay, those are different. And that's a decision you have to make. I can't do that for you, but I can help you with information. Um, and from there, we just want to encourage you to take care of your marriage before it's in trouble. Don't let it go into deep parts. Take care of it before it's in trouble. This came because my husband and I were headed to deep trouble and we had to reset. And this is what we did. It's worked for clients and couples all over the world and for years and years.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Jan, thank you so much for sharing. This was very helpful. I think so much great knowledge in
Mhm.
this time that we spent together.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a great pleasure being here and really have enjoyed being able to share with your audience and hope that they share it with lots of other people so that giants can be strong and impactful in our good world around us.
Oh, great. All right, Giant Builders. We'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.